Good morning and a very warm welcome to Frugalful. My name's Lara, this is a frugal living and budgeting channel, and coffee cheers to you and happy Friday. I hope your frugal week has gone really well. If you're doing specific budgeting goals in the month of June, like low or no spend, then I wish you all the very best with that and would love to hear in the comments how that's been going. Also, if you've been doing or are still doing some decluttering, I hope that's going really well. If you've been watching any of the month of May Decluttering challenge videos, you will know that I set myself and anyone who wanted to join me on the journey a decluttering challenge in the month of May. Absolutely delighted at how that went. In May, I decluttered a total of 501 items. Yay! So I was over the moon at this, and it's definitely been a very positive first step to a much larger downsizing and decluttering project that I'm going through at the moment in my life. I did talk about this a little bit on the live on Saturday. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched the live, who was there in person at the live, well, I say in person, but you know, remotely over digital wonders of technology. Thank you for being there or for watching after the event. It means so much. Looking forward to more lives in the future. Absolutely loved doing that with you. And I was talking in that about thoughts and ideas on what targets to set myself for June. Now, it's not going to be specifically, and thank you to Gina for the questions around that. And it's not going to be specifically a decluttering goal that I'm setting myself in the month of June. I will continue generally with decluttering and just keep flexing that muscle and keep building that muscle, because I need to keep doing little and often for the long haul with that, because there's still a long ways to go. Because I live in a 2-bedroom flat which has a lot of stuff in it, and want to get to the point that I'm in a 2-bedroom flat with a lot more breathing space to have freedom and flexibility should I ever wish to downsize to a smaller home in the future. And just in general to make life easier and reduce the overwhelm that clutter brings sometimes, mentally, physically, just improve and enhance my peace of mind and clarity, energy levels, and just enjoy the space so very much more. What I'm thinking as far as the decluttering part is that it could be quarterly, or either quarterly or 3 times a year, so every 3 months or every 4 months. I'm thinking about repeating a decluttering challenge for the month and doing what I did in May of sharing daily shorts, updating on progress, a video in advance of this to let you know what the plan is, see if you fancy joining me on that and if you're on board with that challenge too, so we can do it side by side together and cheer each other on along the way. But having those regular but not too frequent shorter term bursts of more concentrated decluttering, but then sort of slower periods in between, to me seems like a more sensible approach. That kind of slow and steady wins the race kind of mindset for decluttering seems helpful. I found doing the challenge really motivating. The fact that I didn't have rules around the type of things that the numbers could be made of. So sometimes it was larger items, and sometimes it was things like batteries and smaller things that aren't as emotionally wrenching. So it was good to have a combination and not have any strict rules around what type of things. That certainly helped, because it's about developing the habits as well. So it's about the why and getting used to the why and the how, rather than so much about the what, that I found most helpful. And as I say, definitely want to do something like that again. Absolutely do. So onto the other thing that this connects so closely with in terms of personal goals, and that is the theme of this video mainly, which is decorating on a budget, hand in hand with decluttering and downsizing possessions. I have a lot of decorating to do in the flat. This has been a long-term process, which I'm growing weary of, and have more momentum and oomph now and drive to want to get things as close to finished as I can afford to on a budget, on a very small budget, to get things just so much more comfortable and pleasant for living conditions. Because as you know from the kitchen, for example, there's a lot of cosmetic work to be done in here. And around the flat, there's a lot of painting and whatnot. It's been a case of hiring people at different stages along the way to do different types of work over the years, whether that be rewiring of the flat, plastering, not in here clearly, but in the other parts of the flat, plastering, some joinery, all different things like that. And that for the most part has gone well. The first thing I feel helps a lot with decorating and getting home renovations done on a budget is having a number of quotes for the job that you want done, having a range of options and taking a bit of time speaking to people locally, looking on groups like Facebook groups and different things, checker trades, checking reviews and doing a bit of background research to find at least a few potential reputable works people and meeting them, getting quotes. And then that way it helps to ensure that you're not paying way over the odds for getting a job done. And there's no sort of getting around it. It costs money to get works people in and get things done. Sometimes that's unavoidable. I wouldn't have the clue how to plaster properly, and it was worth every penny to get that done well. Very happy with the standard of work that was done for that and my electrical work. With some of the joinery jobs I've had done over the years, things like having flooring in the loft, certain woodwork that I've had done, some of it I'm happier with than other bits, but it was good value for money overall. I suppose I didn't pay as much for those services as I could have, which means that I'm going to need to go round, or I have needed in the past to go round and just sort of titivate bits a little bit and just get them up to how I'd like them, just finishing off little bits that felt a wee bit rough around the edges. But then it saved a lot of money. I didn't have to pay a premium for those people, and they were able to do things at relatively short notice, which was helpful as well. So it just depends on the priorities around that. And if you have the time, the energy and the skills to do things yourself where possible, that's obviously going to save a lot of money as well. So for example, I am doing all my own painting. I have done quite a bit of painting in the rest of the flat, only white at this stage, plaster paint and that sort of thing. But I'm going to be doing all my painting myself. Any wallpapering I'll be doing myself, and was taught how to do that by my mum, which has been a game changer, and that will be very helpful. So that helps keep costs down. I would definitely not attempt to do things that are more skilled and technical on my own. There are some things where maybe if you're using things like YouTube videos to guide you and you have the wherewithal and the skills, that you could save a lot of money on doing yourself. But for me, it's probably going to be more around the decorating that I do it myself. And then for other things that are more involved, hire someone for peace of mind. Beep. Did you hear that car out there? So that's that part. Connected to that, picking up the actual raw materials needed to do the tasks. There are ways to save on that as well. So for example, things like if you're able to buy paints, but you'd have to, I suppose, be cautious buying paint secondhand. But sometimes there are job lots and different things available. And depending on the specific colours you need, you might want certain colour batches. But if you're not sort of too fussed about exactly what the shades are, there are definitely some ways to save. But if it's second-hand paint, I suppose there's a risk of it being very old paint, which may potentially be an issue. I'm not an expert on these things. But also certainly there are deals in the shops to get reduced price paints and that sort of thing. For example, we have a local shop called B&M. So I don't know whether you've come across B&M if you're out with the UK, but in the UK we have a lot of B&M stores, and they generally price things pretty well on the scale of things across the board with other kinds of stores. And probably B&M are, I'm not affiliated with them, but they're probably cheaper than other more specialised decorating stores for paints, and you can get good quality things in a range of options, which is very, very helpful. But even so, these things just cost money, so I'm just being very cautious lifting this. So for example, a can of Dulux of this size, which is 2.5 litres, typical price in B&M at the moment is about, I think it's £22 or £23, which is a lot. And really, I don't want to be spending that much if I can help it, because it really, really mounts up. But I am willing to compromise a bit on the shades. I don't feel I've got to have an exact specific shade. I know I want slightly warm toned if possible, or slightly cool's okay if it matches okay with the others, but neutrals. So for example, last month or the month before, I got this shade called Malt Chocolate, which is absolutely fine, because the colour I've had so far is Soft Truffle for only a small number of the walls because it's a bit dark. So I wanted something a little lighter. So this is similar enough for me to be happy with. I think it will complement that well. It was only £5 in the sale. They did reduce it to 12, then they've reduced it to 5. So I've absolutely run with that and got it. Likewise, a can of Johnson's, and that was down to a £5, and it's a shade called Iridescence, which is maybe a tiny bit cool looking in tone, but it will match absolutely fine with my kind of very, very vague colour scheme of just neutrals. And it's worth it because I'd rather have a little bit less of an exact match and save a lot of money on colour. This is going to be for walls where I don't need a huge amount, so the 2.5 will do, like inside cupboards and that sort of thing, where it's not really a big deal to me to have a perfect colour match anyway. And where possible, I'll stick with white. There are shades like Magnolia that generally are a lot cheaper as well, but I'm just really not, sorry for anyone that loves Magnolia, but I'm really not a Magnolia fan, so I don't think I'm going to go that route. But maybe for undercoats or something. But white is absolutely fine for undercoats as well. But as I say, what I'm trying to say is there are ways to save a bit on the raw materials. And with wallpaper, I picked up a lot of wallpaper through things like secondhand, Gumtree, eBay over the years. And there was some left in the loft when I moved here that are brand new, sealed, perfectly good. Things like lining paper, textured wallpaper, which will be good for the uneven walls. And these things all help save a bit of money when doing this stuff on a budget as well. I picked up a load of wallpapering paste through my local bartering group a while back, so I've got that ready when the time comes. Got a decorating wallpapering table off of the bartering page, which is in the loft, so that's very handy. Also got things like reduced price, buying the roller sets and that kind of thing. Looked after the materials well, so I haven't had to buy as many each time of things like the trays. Did buy some new rollers, but you can buy these, it comes sometimes in the packs, or you can buy these little sleeves, or use things like cling film if you're very careful to try and seal it so that if there's any paint and you're coming back to the same colour, you can do that temporarily so things don't dry out. And then it saves you having to buy new rollers. Sometimes it's unavoidable though. But there are ways like that I'm finding help save a bit of money as well. Also, not wasting and using up what you have. So I've got some fillers. I've got some filler with a damaged lid, but I've managed to seal that airtight, and that should preserve what's in there. It feels like it. But I get every last drop out of the tubes of filler. I won't be wasting a single drop of this paint that's been opened in the past. I've made sure to store that well so it's going to still be used up. And then I've got a couple of other things to mention around raw materials as well. One of which is if you can get like special bulk buy discounts or coupon deals, it's worth doing that. Actually, 3 things. Because also, if you can research and shop around, there are ways to get reduced price deals as well, or get things cheaper. So every now and then, for example, Amazon sellers will knock the price down for certain things. So if you're willing to put a wee bit of time in to look around, there can be cheaper ways to get the products elsewhere. And finally, whatever stores you are using, if you're buying things from a store, it's worth checking out cashback apps that support that. So for example, again, no affiliations here, but the only cashback app I've really ever engaged with is the Jam Donut app, which I find really, really helpful. So they have B&M, they have B&Q, I think. I don't know about Wix, but there are certain stores where you can actually buy gift cards, digital gift cards or physical gift cards through the app pay for. Yeah, so you go through the app, you buy like your digital gift card, which you could then use to buy a physical gift card if you want to spend in store, or you can just use the digital gift card when buying stuff either online or in a shop. That's what I'm trying to say. But the great thing is if you need to buy stuff from that shop anyway, then why not generate some cash back through buying a gift card? To me, it's a win-win. I'm very conscious not to use it for spending money that I wouldn't on gift cards for stores that I wouldn't actually need to shop in anyway. But if you knew you had a big purchase coming up, including decorating related purchases, to me that is an absolute no-brainer. Because if I've got to spend money, say in B&Q or B&M or something related to decorating, why not get a bit of cash back through the process? So that's the other thing I recommend to decorate on a budget. And finally, as far as the items you need to complete the task, for a lot of those things, if you're able to either hire them, that can save money, or if you know people who are happy to lend you their items, saves on having to actually buy the things. So for example, if I needed an electric screwdriver or drill or something like that, maybe I would have friends or family members who would be happy to lend me theirs. I've had friends who have very kindly, and family that have very kindly lent me wallpaper steamers and these sanding mouse tools, that kind of thing. And I'm very grateful for that because it saved me having to actually go and physically buy such tools, which has saved a lot of money. And it depends as well on your specific requirements. So I have bought, but shopped around and got at a very reasonable price, a ladder set, because of the sheer volume of decorating involving painting ceilings and whatnot as well, and needing to reach up high because I have high ceilings. So having a small set of ladders has really, really helped me a lot. It's been very beneficial, so it was worth me actually buying those. But my mum, she was amazing at helping me research and find the best value for money with those. So sometimes it's unavoidable to actually buy certain required items. Like for me as well, I have spent a bit over the years on the rollers for painting and trays and that sort of thing, but it's been worth it. It's still far cheaper than having hired a painter, so worth every penny. They are all the major things that come to mind about strategies I use to try and budget and cut costs associated with decorating. If it's possible to put in time and energy and have some level of skills, it can help reduce the overall cost considerably. But it's finding the balance, isn't it? Because there's some things where you might have to bite the bullet and hire somebody. There are some things where it's just the safest option and the most sensible, practical option. And it's finding that personal balance that works for each of us. But like I say, month of June, I really want to try and turn a corner and get some decorating done. So it's not like a budgeting goals related challenge exactly, but that will be a point of focus for me with free time where I can in the month of June. So watch this space, because I will tune in later in the month and give you some feedback on how it's been going with the decorating, show you a bit around the flat and what I've been tackling and how it's been going, maybe some before and after pictures and that sort of thing if you'd like. And any ideas, tips, comments or suggestions related to either decluttering on a budget, decorating on a budget, or any other frugal related things, feel free to share in the comments below and I would love to read them. Take care and thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend and see you very soon. Bye bye.